suggestion saying, hey, watch some of the videos with us. I'm going to go ahead and try it. Try not to get copyrighted. So what I'll do is give some of my commentary. I might have to pause the video. I'm not sure how this will work, but I'll figure it out along the way. But the first one, and I'm trying to navigate and got these different screens going, but first one on Satria Kritsonis, Ted Bundy survivor. So was looking up that, looking her up, and I didn't want to go too much into it. Saw she got away. Kind of saw how, but the way my memory works, I don't really remember because I didn't read it all the way through. So what I'm thinking, let's go ahead and watch a video. This one's 7 minutes. Let's go ahead and watch a video on it and then go from there. And the thing is, I'm trying to navigate through this whole process. Hopefully nothing happens, but we'll see. Let me go ahead and click on this thing. Maybe it'll be considered reaction type content. I don't know. But again, this is on Satria Kritsonis, Ted Bundy survivor. And what I didn't think about, hopefully everybody can hear it. I didn't think about that, but all right. I guess we'll see.
And I still can see him.
It is a voice you've never heard.
Did you feel like you might die?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
And film you've never seen. One of America's most notorious serial killers.
Ted Bundy was a charming man. He wasn't a charming man. That was a facade.
Stalking his next victims at a Lake Sammamish picnic.
He's not what people imagine, a sexual predator, serial killer looks like.
And a woman who says she's finally ready to talk about her terrifying ride with a man named Ted.
When he said, "Don't even go there, you're never getting out of here," I knew that was my life flashing in front of me.
I couldn't even imagine.
It has been 46 years since Satria Kritsonis last journeyed down this stretch of road.
It sure has changed a lot, all the new buildings.
But the memories of a snowy Seattle day in 1972 are clear and haunting.
He was dressed real nice, and his hair was kind of wavy, and he had dark eyes. Handsome looking.
It was in this area. This has all been changed, but it was right here.
Satria was 22 and says she'd waited nearly an hour for a city bus to take her to classes in Renton.
Car pulled up to the curb, rolled down the window and said, "Hello, young lady, are you waiting for the bus?" And he goes, "Well, I've come down Rainer Avenue and that's a long ways and there's not a bus in sight. Would you like a ride?"
In the 70s, in relatively safe Seattle.
Oh, okay, so this might work because I can pause through it. All right. And I guess people know nowadays, and a lot of times what I'm starting to see with these serial killers, they are starting to offer rides because it wasn't Bible John. Bible John was the same way. So starting to realize a lot of that about these serial killers.
Seattle, the handsome young man seemed more friendly than foreboding.
So you hopped in his car, not thinking it was going to be a problem at all?
No, I thought how happy I am now. I'm in a warm car and I get to where I'm going.
As the Volkswagen Bug took off down Rainier Avenue South, Satria said it quickly became clear this would be no ordinary ride, and this was no good Samaritan. It was Ted Bundy.
Right about here, everything changed. He started, reaching under the seat, started yelling at me, "Why did you take this ride? Why did you even think about taking this ride?
You're never going to make it to the school." And I thought, wow.
You were thinking about jumping out.
Yes.
Why didn't you?
I couldn't. There was no handle.
No handle on the door?
No handle on the door at all. Nope.
Makes sense. He's a serial killer, so he probably prepared. Do I watch? Ted Bundy's probably gonna be a long story, but I need to do a read or something on Ted so I can understand. So I can understand more, because I understand he's a serial killer, and that's what we're gonna go through today. But I need to see how I guess he attacked his victims, and I guess I'm getting a glimpse into it right now.
Satria would soon learn it might be hair, not heroics, that could save her life. Many young women did not escape Ted Bundy, and some of their bodies were dumped here in remote areas of Issaquah. Others have never been found. It's also a place investigators believe Bundy trolled for more victims. It was the summer of '74, and employees of Rainier Brewing Company were enjoying their annual company picnic at Lake Sammamish State Park. In evidence never seen by the public until now, this film reveals how a day of fun became fertile ground for Ted Bundy to target his next victims. His Volkswagen Bug, seen here, offered a front row seat to watch women. That same day, in broad daylight, Bundy abducted Janice Ott and Denise Naslund from the park with...
Okay, so so basically Ted's scouting. Dang, and it's bad to make this comparison. So you know how you have pro scouts in sports and stuff like that. And essentially, this is what he's doing. He sits there, waits, looks at his victims, and then attacks that way. That is, I would have never even thought. Yeah, I guess I don't have a serial killer mindset, but yeah, I would never even thought to put the two and two together.
Within 4 hours of each other.
The Lake Sammamish cases where once he got them in the car, he would quickly hit them in the head with a tire iron or beat them in a tire iron. That was kind of his MO.
Film shows police on scene to investigate the women's disappearance, with Bundy's car still in the background. The bodies of Ott and Naslund weren't found until 2 months later, dumped in a wooded area about 2 miles away.
Where you're not going to go to your destination.
Back in that VW Bug.
I was sobbing and praying and, pleading for my life back. They don't do anything, don't harm me.
So Tria says Bundy was driving her south on I-5 toward Tukwila.
You should have never taken this ride and shut the up.
She says Bundy's beratement led to a bizarre demand.
He goes, "Take your hat off." And I said, "What do you mean take my hat off, my stocking cap off? What for?" I took my hat off and he saw that something was different about me. And he goes, "Why did you cut your hair?" I thought, why did I cut my hair?
I keep thinking, did he stalk me? Did he see me somewhere? Was he waiting for me, or was he watching?
All of those things. He stalked you, he saw you, waited on you. He was scouting you from, what did they say, a beetle? Jeez. Yeah, I would hope people are smarter nowadays. And well, I guess you have Uber and stuff like that, and they do verify people on Uber. But hopefully you would hope you don't run into anybody like that. And you would think he's a good Samaritan if he sees you walking on the road. Hey, you need a ride, especially in those times. But geez, that would be tough. That would be tough.
Watching me.
He says, "Well, put that hat back on." And then he said, "Shut the up," and he's yelling at me, "You're never going to make it."
He may have been involved in the rape murders of 36 women, all young and all with long brown hair.
So Tria speculates the hair that she had cut a week earlier may have saved her life.
He could have killed me. It was just, thank God I had gotten my hair cut, that I probably wouldn't be talking to you today.
An hour into her odyssey, so Tria says Bundy dropped her off in front of her school, shoving her to the ground and reminding her of just how lucky she was.
Yeah, so that's when I realized I was a lucky lady.
So Tria says she told her family about the man, but not police.
I didn't talk about it because I was a little bit embarrassed about it.
He was attractive, intelligent, and able to charm women and men alike.
It wasn't until a year and a half later.
I wonder if, like how she quickly mentioned how she was embarrassed about it. And I wonder if that happens to just a lot of victims in general, just because if you don't have people willing to share their story, then nobody's going to know. And then this is how serial killers, because if you escape and you don't go to the police because you're embarrassed or you want to keep everything private, people go through different things mentally. I'm not saying she's wrong or anything like that, but I'm saying if she's not willing to, in this instance, not willing to share, which eventually of course she did because we know now, but if she wasn't willing to share, or anybody not willing to share, then I think this is probably where the serial killers, the people, the abusers, people like that take advantage, especially of women or people weaker than them. But it did just say Ted Bundy was over here charming men and women alike, so I'm not sure what exactly that means.
Later, while watching TV, that Tria says she realized she'd been picked up by a suspected serial killer.
I knew 100% that was the guy, yeah.
The Bundy evidence files we examined here in King County are expansive.
I think he's responsible for additional murders.
And Cairo 7 has learned that homicide investigators with the Washington Attorney General's office are taking a new look at who else Bundy may have targeted.
Do you believe they are actively pursuing a DNA connection right now to Ted Bundy?
I believe some detectives are.
Seattle police investigators are re-examining evidence from this crime in 1966.
You have to keep your eyes open and say, what about Bundy? Is that a possibility?
While working at this Safeway in Queen Anne, Bundy is suspected of bludgeoning 2 flight attendants in their nearby apartment. Lonnie Trumbull died. Her roommate suffered permanent memory loss. Bundy never confessed to the crime.
At this point, we kind of have a second eye going over it and seeing what kind of physical evidence is there to maybe address with 2018 science.
Ted Bundy was executed in a Florida prison. His ashes were spread over the Cascade Mountains, not far from where he created so much havoc and heartache. And nearly 3 decades later, some of the answers to Bundy's past remain buried in the landscape of the Pacific Northwest.
The families deserve answers to what happened to their loved one.
A place of grandeur, grief, and gratitude.
You must feel lucky. You are a woman who survived Ted Bundy.
That I am. I'm more than lucky. I just thank God I'm alive every day.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I would definitely say she is one of the lucky ones, and I need to read more into Ted Bundy. Don't want to do it today, because I might do a read, then watch the video. Because if I can do it like this will be fine. But, yeah, the victims, it's sad to say that you'll never know just because he's gone. If he's not talking, he doesn't say anything, or if he hasn't said anything, didn't write any letters or anything to that nature, then it's just basically lost in his death until people find him. But then you still have to, there's a lot of things that and I can't think of the terms off the top of my head right now, but just analyzing bone structure and DNA and stuff like that to figure out which person is who. But I guess you could figure out through a missing persons and then try to see if it matches up. But it sucks. And it seems like he had MO of who he attacked. So, but oof, man, that's scary. Man, I couldn't imagine. Okay, let me, because I'm figuring this out. So again, that was Sotria Kritsanis. I believe that's how you pronounce her name. And so my next story that I wanted to hit on is Henry Lee Lucas. Only thing is, with some of these, I gotta make sure that I am not going entirely too long, because like right now I have one that's a Netflix trailer, but I don't want that. I just want to see. Oh, there's a lot of these on the Henry. Jeez, maybe I should have been paying attention of who this guy is. Okay, let me see if I can find a Henry Lee Lucas, and this is probably the part I need to become better at. Yeah, putting these clips together beforehand. Man, I just wanted to see like a 5-minute clip. Okay, here goes a news article, because they have true crime documentaries and stuff like that already on them. Some of them are hour. You know what? I can see what I could do on those. Okay. Let's use this one. Use this one. Let me go ahead. This one says it's about 4 minutes. This one just seems like it's a confession. Is it true or false? I guess we'll figure that out here in a second for Henry Lee Lucas. I wonder if they'll give me an idea of who he is. And again, I do admit, a lot of these people, especially serial killers, I do not know. I can read descriptions, so I can see that he's a serial killer who confessed up to 300 murders, which is absolutely god-awful, insane. But I don't know the man. I don't know the history behind it like I probably should. So But this one says it's in depth on Henry Lee Lucas' confession. Let's see if it's true or false. Let's go ahead and get into it.
40 years ago, a young woman's body was found near Georgetown. Nobody could have expected at the time that it would take 40 years to identify her. She was nicknamed Orange Socks. Those were the only bits of clothing she was wearing when she was found. In a news conference Wednesday, the Williamson County Sheriff's Office gave her back her real name, Deborah Jackson. Robert Hadlock is in the studio with a very special guest who's familiar with this case. Robert.
Indeed, Sydney, thanks. I'm here now with a former colleague here at KXAN and over at KVUE, in fact, Jim McNabb. Jim followed this story since its beginnings, and as a crime reporter for stations here in town, you covered the main man who at one point confessed to Jackson's murder. I want to know your reaction when you heard that they linked a name with this woman.
Well, I heard that there was going to be some sort of a development. I learned about that through media sources probably last spring or so. Didn't know what it was going to be. This is just the first step, though. Now we have to figure out who the suspect is.
This was a shocking crime in '79. You were here and watched it all unfold.
Yes. Well,
okay. Did not know they were talking about a crime from '79. I'm not sure why I thought this was recent. But it makes sense as I'm over here just doing a quick looking back on Henry Lee Lucas. It's kind of crazy. I didn't realize he had a companion named Otis. But they say they're responsible for hundreds of murders for people that don't know, but everybody probably does know except me, leading to a media frenzy. Okay, let's keep going. Maybe the guy.
Well, it used to be as a crime reporter, I didn't go to the TV station. I went straight to the police department because they had a press room back then, and two people were in the press office that day in the early June of 1983. It was Mike Cox from the Austin American-Statesman, he was a police reporter, and me, along with the PIO. And the homicide lieutenant at the time, Colin Jordan, came in, and he said, "You would not believe the wire that I just got." And we all kind of thought, really? Because Lieutenant Jordan just show up, didn't, but he must have been a little bit amazed, and he was. There's this guy, he said, up in Montague County who claims he killed 60 people. We're all going, really? And then he left.
Yeah, let's pause right there. Okay. All right, so Deborah Jackson was referred to as Orange Socks. Henry Lee Lucas, people can read. I'm just starting to realize that. But still, 1984 he was convicted. These are things I don't know. Known for false confessions. Well, that doesn't help. All right, that absolutely sucks. If somebody say, "Yo, what's up?" Followed. Hey, thank you. Hey, thank you for the follow. Right now I'm over here just going through different stories. Right now, honestly, it's on serial killers today. So, but right now we're looking at Henry Lee Lucas. I'm over here watching. I'm trying to understand a little bit more about this Deborah Jackson case.
Mike Cox and I both got on the phone. We both figured out that Williamson County Sheriff Jim Boutwell had gone up there because he thought that this guy, Henry Lee Lucas,
the one-eyed drifter,
could be the man they've been looking for in connection with the Orange Socks murder. Cox went on up that night. I was able to get up there the very next day and then did a live shot from a Dallas TV station. That was in early June, and then after that, Henry started confessing to just about everything in sight. And, some people said that, how could he
For my people that eventually watch this, is that Henry Lee Lucas? I'm not sure, but because I'm trying to see the picture that I have. The picture I have does not look like that man. Yeah, the picture I have looks like a guy whose hair is kind of crazy, to be honest with you. He doesn't have short hair like this guy. And teeth look kind of crooked. Yeah, it looks totally different.
Possibly have killed this many people.
All right.
It was numbering in the hundreds, Robert. And they said that maybe Henry was a little bit intellectually challenged. I don't think so. I interviewed him.
Oh,
He was
What that?
creepy.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I'm sure he was.
And he, I think, was smart. I think he was going through all kinds of news media, newspapers, and I'm told that they put offense reports in front of him, and he had enough maybe memory to stoke away information and therefore confess to some things that only were in the offense report. But Sheriff Jim Boutwell in Williamson County told me that Henry had confessed to crimes only he knew.
Let me ask you real quick, you got 20 seconds. Do you think other people were involved in the murder?
He was traveling with a guy named Otis Toole.
Okay, that's the guy. That's the other guy that I saw. I'm gonna do a quick rundown on this after this finishes. It has about 30 seconds.
And I am confident that, well, both Toole and Henry are dead now. But I'm sure that they have DNA from them, and the forensics will bear that out. Sheriff Chody said they don't have any suspect, but he refused to reveal the name or connect Henry Lee Lucas to the crime.
The mystery continues. Jim McNabb, thanks so much for coming in.
Okay. So, and I see the comment down here. I'll respond in just a second. So you have Henry Lee Lucas. Looks like he just went around murdering people. Then you have Otis Toole. They met in Jacksonville, Florida. A little bit of background on Henry. Says he was born in Virginia in 1936. Says childhood marked by extreme abuse and neglect. Mother Viola was violent and controlling. Father was a double amputee, struggled with alcoholism. Says Lucas suffered head injuries, subject to disturbing punishments, contributing to his troubled behavior. Dropped out of school, got his first arrest at 18. Said he was convicted of murdering his mother in a fit of rage in 1960 and was sentenced to 20 years of prison. But he got released in 10 years due to overcrowding and good behavior. However, his violent tendencies only escalated upon his release. My thing is, if you can murder your mother, I'm pretty sure you can murder other people at that point. Doesn't sound like his mom was that great of a person, just being honest. But like I said, if you can murder your mom, you can murder him. Man, you know what the great thing is? I'm saying that, and then the Menendez brothers just popped up in my head. Jeez. So am I going back on what I'm saying now? Or do I need to take back what I just said? Because if you're being abused, it doesn't matter who you're being abused by. I really got to look into that. I got to really think about that because, dang, that's honestly hypocritical in my stance. Because if you're being abused, it doesn't matter who it is. You're going to want retaliation. And if it's saying right here that she was violent and controlling, he's suffering head injuries. I'm assuming his father being a double amputee. I'm assuming we're talking about the legs. If he was an alcoholic, I'm assuming. I'm not sure. Okay. Let's get to where he met Otis. Otis, Jacksonville, Florida, in '76. Says he had a troubled past and a history of violent behavior. They bonded, traveled around each other in the U.S. They targeted hitchhikers, sex workers, random victims, often killing without a motive. Says Toole's young niece, Becky Powell, also traveled with him, and Lucas reportedly developed a romantic relationship with her. Okay, it says their nomadic lifestyle and chaotic patterns made their crimes difficult to trace, allowing them to evade law enforcement for years. Okay, it says Lucas was arrested in '83 on suspicion of murdering an elderly woman in Texas. In custody, he began confessing to an astonishing number of murders, claiming he had killed over 600. Okay, well, that's well more than 300 that I just said earlier. His detailed confessions included names, locations, and gruesome descriptions of the crimes. My thing is, if you remember, yeah, you probably are sick in the head. And you always wonder, does that start when you're young and then it just, balloons and then escalates even more and then it just doesn't stop? Or was he always like this? It says authorities were both shocked and skeptical, but his statements led to multiple murder clearances across the country. And then his confessions attracted national attention, and then he became a media sensation. Says he willingly cooperated with law enforcement, leading investigators to crime scenes, describing killings with chilling accuracy. That'd be my thing. I don't understand how he's doing that part. That's not to say it's incredible, but I don't get that. Let's see. Oh, but this is, however, later his inconsistencies began to surface as many of his confessions didn't align with the evidence. Later revealed Lucas was being fed information, but he was being fed information by law enforcement, allowing him to fabricate details convincingly. And okay, so let's say truth uncovered. The investigation revealed that he could not have committed many of the murders he confessed to, as he was in different states at the time. Basically, he exaggerated his body count for attention and better treatment in prison. Let's see. It says, despite the false confessions, Lucas was convicted of 11 homicides based on credible witnesses. He was sentenced to death in '84, but later commuted a life of imprisonment by Texas Governor George W. Bush, who cited inconsistencies with his confessions. Lucas died of a heart failure in prison in 2001. Yeah, the guy that I see on my screen, let me see if I can move. Let me see if I can full screen and move him. Or actually, no, I'm going to mess it up. Actually, I shouldn't mess it up, right? I don't think I will. No, I will. Never mind. So the guy I see on my screen looks like a guy whose hair is messed up. He doesn't look like... I'll tell you right now who he doesn't look like. Is it? It was a guy that was being taken to jail. Hold on just a second. This guy right here. Doesn't look like that guy at all. I'll tell you that much. Don't look like that guy at all. The guy I see right here, teeth's a little yellow. Hair looks crazy. Yeah, hair's not short either. I'll just say this. He doesn't look like that guy. Yeah, and if he is that guy, I'm just wrong. But to me, it doesn't look like this guy on the screen at all right now. Let's see. We have the controversy. It says Lucas remains one of the most controversial figures in American criminal history. His confessions led to closure of hundreds of cold cases, but his manipulations also cast doubt on the integrity of investigations. True number of his victims remain unknown, but his story continues to captivate public imagination. The case of Henry Lee Lucas is a grim reminder of the dangers and false confessions, media sensationalism, and complexities of criminal justice. His legacy is one of horror and mystery, leaving behind unanswered questions and a trail of shattered lives. Yeah, I can understand that. Yeah, because if he's just going around, him and his crew just killing people. I wonder why we didn't talk about Otis at all in this little write-up. Let me see if they got something on Otis. Oh! On the site I'm on, True Crime Database. I need a gold subscription to talk about Otis. So we'll probably just go to somebody else. Let's see. Who else do we have on here? Man, a lot of these people, believe it or not, I do not know. And I'm about to say some of these names, and I know people are probably going to look at me like, why don't you know who this person is? But I just don't. And I feel like I'm learning now. Just being honest. So this next person is, and I'm over here saying it like people don't know who he is. So Tria, I could probably get away with. But the next person is Jack the Ripper. So I don't know. Let me see if I can find one that's not too crazy. Let's see if I can find one. I just want to find one that's like 5 minutes. Or maybe I go through a short, maybe? I don't know. I don't know what I should do. Actually, they have a movie of Jack the Ripper. When did this come out? This 5 months ago? Oh, it's coming out this year. If it hasn't already came out. Let's see. Okay, we have something on PBS, but I don't like that. I have a bad feeling about what I'm about to do on PBS, but we'll see. Okay. Boom. All right. Let's go through Jack the Ripper and let's see. The Whitechapel Murderer. Okay. Well, I'm gonna learn a little bit more on Jack the Ripper. I'll tell you that much. Let me look down real quick. And okay, let's go and get into this one. This one's 6 minutes. Let's go and start this one. Okay, let me see. And I just moved something on the screen that I shouldn't. Okay, here we go. Okay, so we're talking about Jack the Ripper, a letter from Jack the Ripper. Oh, I see, right. The crazy thing is, as I'm reading through it, it says letters sent to the press boasting of the killings were purported to be from the Ripper, whose involvement was suspected in other murders committed around the same. Many suspects have put forward the identity of Jack the Ripper, including a doctor, an artist, several men who were in lunatic asylums, and even a woman. The case of the serial killer known as Jack the Ripper remains as enigmatic, as mysterious as it does unsolved for over 130 years later. Oh, okay, I see what the issue is. So, wait, Jack the Ripper could have been anybody? Wait a minute now. All right, I wasn't expecting that. Okay. Looks like he's from London. Now it makes sense. He cuts throats. Yeah, I probably should have put that together. It says this occurred over the course of several months in late 1888, known as the Autumn of Terror. Okay. Well, my I guess I'm going through a crash course on Jack the Ripper. Let's keep going. So maybe he became too big, and it seems like a lot of these murders happen to just the women. I'm not sure if it's just back in the day. It doesn't seem like they're. I wonder if he had a type as well, or if he just targeted prostitutes. Because even right here, I'm reading, and maybe this is what we're talking about. Martha Tabram, she was a 39-year-old prostitute that went out with, I guess, Pearlie Paul, and they were in the company of soldiers. They parted ways, and then it looks like she was found in the morning to have received 39 stab wounds that pierced her throat, lung, heart, liver, spleen, stomach area, and abdomen. So I can see why they say a doctor. They have a picture of Martha Tabram. But I guess it was no sexual abuse though found, despite which honestly is, I'm not even gonna lie, that's rare to be honest with you. It says the murder of Tabram appeared to lack an obvious motive as no items had been stolen and she had not been raped. The perpetrator of this crime was believed to be either a soldier with whom she had met earlier that evening or a sailor, as one of the wounds on the sternum had been inflicted with a dagger or bayonet. Police consider the murder of Tabram an isolated incident with little prospect of catching her killer. Huh. I wonder, and I know I'm bouncing around right now, but I wonder if this is what this one's going to be about. I'm not gonna lie, if this is an actual writing, how does he write so neat? And they said this is with blood? Oh, that's why this guy's thinking it's fake. Ah, okay, I see what he's saying, but would it not be like someone, or maybe keeping score, or somebody, for lack of a better word, doing like journaling, like doing a killer journal? Maybe I'm not sure, but that's what I would assume. Now, why it's written so neat or looks, yeah, it looks too well done, I would say, because there's no like real true marks or anything like that, unless it's perfectly preserved, which seems almost impossible. But like, how many duplicate like killers? Because the thing is, what you find is once you have somebody that makes it mainstream, like probably somebody like Jack the Ripper, then there seems to be copycat killers that come out. So I guess you would never know what exactly would be true. And this is not real, from what I'm hearing. And I'm over here still trying to go through Jack the Ripper, but Jack the Ripper seemed like he's just killing people just to kill people at this point, from everything I'm reading. But yeah, okay, so basically, yeah. Oh, shit, it builds a story, and like he said, whoever put it out, now we could write more news articles, generating more money. People want to read about it. Think about it. 2025, we're making movies about Jack the Ripper. And we don't even, according to what I'm reading now, we don't even know exactly who Jack the Ripper is. But we do know he mutilates his victims. Everything I read here, we know that much. Jeez. But we don't know who he is, which is... So the infamous letter, let me see. Because it seems like there's more than one. There's multiple that I'm reading. And... So one of the letters that I have here is a Jack the Ripper Dear Boss letter and Saucy Janky postcard. It was the first printed the text of the letter purportedly received by the killer, known as the Dear Boss letter. It was received by Central News Agency on September 27th, 1888, and was originally to be believed to be a hoax. However, when the double event murders of Elizabeth Stride and Catherine Eddowes occurred, police began to suspect the letter as genuine, especially considering it alludes to the killer threatening to clip the lady's ears off during his next murder. This was apparently carried out as a portion of Eddowes' earlobe had been cut off. The letter reads, "Dear Boss, I keep on hearing the police have caught me, but they won't fix me just yet. I have laughed when they look so clever and talk about being on the right track. That joke about leather apron gave me real fits. I am down on whores, and I shan't quit ripping them till I do get buckled. Grand work the last job was. I gave the lady no time to squeal. How can they catch me now? I love my work and want to start again. You will soon hear of me with my funny little games. I saved some of the proper red stuff in a ginger beer bottle over the last job to write with, but it went thick like glue and I can't use it. Red ink is fit enough, I hope. Ha ha. The next job I do, I shall clip the lady's ears off and send to the police officers just for jolly, wouldn't you? Keep this letter back till I do a bit more work. Then give it out straight. My knife's so sharp, so nice and sharp, I want to get to work right away if I get a chance. Good luck. Yours truly, Jack the Ripper. Don't mind me giving the trade name. P.S. Wasn't good enough to post this before. I got all the red ink off my hands. Curse it. No luck yet. They say I'm a doctor now. Ha ha. That would be scary. I'm not going to lie to you. That would be absolutely terrifying to know somebody like that is just in our world and could just be killing at, like, in the dark at night. I just don't know. And just anybody at that point. Doesn't matter who it is. But we don't know who this man is. And then it sounds like he's making fun of people because they say I'm a doctor. It seems like that's a joke. They're saying I'm this. Honestly, to me, and not to make light of these people's deaths, it sounds like Saw, to be honest with you. That's what it sounded like to me, because it sounded like he's playing games, and then I guess they can't catch him, and he's just killing. Maybe it's not Saw. Maybe it's something else. But I wasn't truly like big on those on the big killing documentaries as a kid, so I didn't really watch. Maybe that's what I need to watch. Like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and all that type of stuff. But yeah, this is absolutely insane just reading it. Then he says there's a letter from hell letter that Jack the Ripper has. This one doesn't seem as long as the other one. This one says, "From hell, Mr. Lusk, S-O-R. I send you half the kidney I took from one woman and preserved it for you, t'other piece I fried and ate. It was very nice." Maybe they're supposed to be together. Preserved it for you, together piece I fried and ate it. It was very nice. I may send you the bloody knife that took it out if you only wait a while longer. Signed, catch me when you can, Mr. Lusk. Maybe Lusk was a detective on the case, but the way he wrote this, I don't think he a doctor. Just being honest. I could barely read this thing and a lot of misspelled words on here. So Jack the Ripper was absolutely insane, but he only attacks women. All these serial killers, that's their main thing. Maybe they couldn't get, maybe they never had a love from a woman, or they got abused from a woman, because we don't know, because we don't know who Jack the Ripper is. Yeah. It is. Man, I'm over here. Oh, this one says later on October 17th, a left leg cut above the knee was found buried near a construction site by reporter Jasper Waring. With help from a laborer, had used a Spitzberg dog with the permission of the police to locate the remains. The head and remaining limbs of the victim were never located. Jeez. Yeah, Jack the Ripper is just killing. Like I'm going through, and I'm still scrolling through this story, and he is just going through everybody, even kids. It says on December, and my thing it's going by quick. So I'm not sure if there is a gang of them at this point, and then everybody's associated with one person, or if it's just one person and they're absolutely just insane. Because this one says December 29th. 1888, the body of 7-year-old John Gill was found in a stable located behind Mellor Street. The press at the time described the victim as being indescribably mutilated and suffered the dismemberment of both legs, along with the abdomen was slightly opened and the intestines partly extracted. I would have to move. I couldn't. There's too many killings that's happening at one time. And especially if it's in my area, I'm not sure if Jack the Ripper is in one area, but it seems like it, because if we're saying the autumn of the terror murderers, and no, we are moving. We have to get out of here because he is. And then here goes the copycats, because now we have the Atlanta Ripper. I'm like, who is this? And who was described as being one surviving victim. Oh, okay. Wait, was he a victim? A large black man who was powerfully built and neatly dressed would mutilate his victims in a similar manner to London's Jack the Ripper. Although some, let's see, I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be positioned that the same killer was responsible for both series of murders. There is little evidence that the Atlanta Ripper and Jack the Ripper were one in the same. Oh, so they think the Atlanta Ripper and Jack the Ripper were one and the same? That's interesting. I would seriously doubt there'd be a black guy getting away with a whole bunch of murders. I think my mini conspiracy, without really doing a true deep dive, because I'm scrolling through, reading, scrolling, that the Ripper is more than just one person. I think the Ripper is a multitude of people, and they just carry out different crimes, and they talk about it. And I believe they treat it like a game to see how many people they can get, how many cuts they can get, and how badly they can mutilate people. That's what I think it might have been. Especially, it seems like they never caught him, and then they said because there was a killer dubbed Jack the Stripper who preyed on prostitutes. It seems like that's what I'm saying. It seems like they're going after different types. There's no one mode of operation, to be honest with you. I think there's more than one. This one says Jack the Ripper has become something of a boogeyman, a shadowy killer who has remained mysterious and attained an almost otherworldly notoriety. He is often depicted as a well-to-do gentleman in a top hat and finer clothing, who preys on the lower-class women of the night, satisfying some perverse sexual frustration by mutilating and leaving their corpses to be discovered. But the crazy part is, and I know I'm just scrolling through, did he sexually abuse any of these victims? Because usually that is what happens in these cases. So for this not to have happened is like just different in itself. I'm not. Yeah, but the problem is we don't know who. They don't know who did it, who Jack the Ripper is, but they just know these killings, people are getting slashed up. Jeez. That'd be scary, especially, and then you don't have the technology either because he could just go to another side of, let's just say, the country and do the same thing, come back later when people think they're good to go. But it seems like Jack and his crew, because to me, there's more than one. Jack and his crew were going out and just terrorizing people. One night's your night, one night's your night. Both of y'all will go out one night. Yeah, I think they were just terrorizing people, whoever this crew was, because I don't think it was just one person. Yeah, just like how we just read about, what was his name, Henry Lee Lucas? Yeah, I think this one's probably pretty similar. All right, let us do one more. And then I want people to let me know how this stream goes or how they like this one. I know somebody mentioned probably doing streams like this and seeing if they would appreciate this. So hopefully this helps just a little bit when I cut these up a little bit. The thing is, I do feel I can watch something, get my take off, and then go from there. So let me see. All right. So next person we're going to do is Harrison Graham. Thing is, again, so that's why I say next time I will be better prepared because, again, this is the first time I was doing this. I'll be better prepared because I don't have a video ready, but I will find one. But I don't want to watch one that is 45 minutes. If I have to... Oh, Harrison Graham's known as a Cookie Monster. You know the crazy thing is, I saw the Cookie Monster on one of these thumbnails, and I'm over here looking like I'm like, what are they doing? Now I understand. That is absolutely insane. The Cookie Monster. Oh man. I can't imagine what. All right. Shortest one I think I found. Let me see. Suspicion neighborhoods. Let's see. Shortest one I found right now. It seems to be 13 minutes, but I think I'm gonna do this one. It says it's 17 minutes. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do the 17-minute one. Oh, there's a 15-minute one. Yeah, let's do the 17-minute one. We'll figure it out here in a second. All right, let me get this thing back up on the screen. All right, this is Harrison Graham. What is known as the Cookie Monster? Then I'll add my commentary, and then we'll talk about it more at the end. But let's go ahead and get into this one. This will be our last one for the day. Realize I can watch it like that.
In the 1980s, the state of Pennsylvania was home to several serial killers. One of them was Gary Heidnik, who held people captive in the basement of his home. Before the 80s were over, another serial killer would emerge. Harrison Graham was much like Heidnik. He may not have designed a bunker under the house, but his house was a true house of horrors. In 1987, Graham lived in a squalid apartment building on North Street, and the neighborhood was not a decent one, where poverty ran deep. Aside from those who found homes and lived in them, the streets were full of homeless people. There was everything from illegal drug dealing to sex trafficking. It was not uncommon for the police to raid this area. On a hot day in 1987, Graham's apartment smelled foul. No matter how much the neighbors warned him, he never fixed the problem. Finally, they decided to report him to the landlord, He was already failing to pay his rent, so the landlord asked him to move out. On August 9th, Graham left the apartment via the fire escape by blocking the front door with boards from behind without informing the landlord. When the landlord arrived and could not get into the apartment, he called the police. The apartment at 1631 North Street appeared to be abandoned. Officer Pete Scalatino was the first to respond to complaints of foul odors that afternoon.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and say these foul odors were dead bodies. If we're just talking about foul odors, I'm just taking a shot in the dark.
When he entered the dilapidated apartment, he immediately recognized the smell of death. There was everything from rotting food to feces. There were crude sketches on the wall. Most disturbing was a drawing of a naked woman with what looked like dried blood. As the police walked around the house, they saw a door. The name Marty was carved on the door, and there was a keyhole under the door. When he bent down and looked inside, he saw a human figure. The person he saw on the floor behind the door was standing motionless. Scalatino immediately called for assistance. With the help of Inspector Charles Johnson, the door was forced open, revealing the body of a black woman lying on a mattress. The lifeless body was swollen and decomposing. Next to the mattress was a second body, another woman, lying lifeless on the floor. The two men needed further assistance. It was difficult to determine whether the deaths were drug-related or homicides. In areas like this, it was very common for people to lose their lives to illegal substances. When the detectives arrived at the scene, a crowd began to gather. As the police surrounded the scene and began to investigate, another body was found. The victim was skeletal. Whatever was going on at 1631 North Street had been going on for some time. The search continued. Working their way through syringes, spoons, broken glass, dog feces, and human remains, the teams found a fourth victim within hours.
Jeez.
She was wrapped in a blanket and stuffed into a closet. The search, which had begun in the afternoon, was now moving towards sunset. At 5:30 p.m., the search team found body number 5 hidden between two mattresses. This body was not wrapped or bound, but had decomposed to the point that its sex could not be determined. An officer called to the men in the back room. He had found another body in the front closet, which was full of garbage and dirty old clothes. What kind of house was this? The cops found a body at every turn. The residents, unaware of this, were shocked because the apartment had turned into a graveyard. When the number of bodies reached 6, the search was called off until morning. Crowds of people from outside the neighborhood and local residents gathered around the building. The media had picked up the story of a possible serial killer in the city of Philadelphia.
Yeah, possible serial killer is an understatement in this regard. Okay. So, okay, and they're about to get into it, but so Graham basically had these women in his apartment. Sounds like in any type of manner. Right, okay. I'm gonna let the story talk about it, but Graham, I can't tell if he's smarter than what he. Let me just let this story play out.
On August 10th, the search was expanded outside the apartment building. A search of the building's roof turned up more body parts, a severed leg, and a foot. As more steps were taken, the murders grew. The morning newspapers published a picture of the tenant in her machete. A handsome, young, healthy-looking black man. His name was written under the picture, Harrison Graham. The police department immediately alerted officers and all other authorities in the area. Harrison was known to his neighbors as Marty. He was described as quiet and docile. The tenants were not afraid of him. In fact, he had done repair work for some of them and had no history of being a threat. As is often the case with serial killers, his involvement in the grisly crime took his neighbors by surprise. The rumors on the street were different. Harrison Graham seemed mild-mannered, especially to users of illegal substances, but he also sold illegal substances. He received $300 a month from Social Security, but he seemed to live on illegal drug money. The victims were autopsied, and there were no...
Yeah, because I was about to ask how's he surviving, but basically, I still would like to know why he's called the Cookie Monster. Is it because he was supplying the drugs for people, which was killing them? Is Cookie synonymous with another word that I'm unaware of? I'm a little confused right now.
no signs of physical trauma or violence. The first two bodies had decomposed quickly due to the heat. In fact, they had been dead only a few days. The medical examiner identified the sex of these bodies as female, while the other victims had not been identified. While all this was going on, the Daily News ran a story about the relatives and friends of one of the victims, Cookie Mathis. Cookie's husband heard about the shirt found on a body and realized it was his wife. He bought the shirt for her. Anthropologists were called in to gather information from the tissue and bones. Within a week, the public would help police solve more identity mysteries. The media ran stories about the madman on the loose as Harrison was still on the run. One man contacted police to ask about his wife, who had been missing for more than 2 years.
Oh, wow.
Another victim's roommate told authorities that he believed Sandra Garvin had gone to buy illegal substances from Harrison. She never returned. The debris at the crime scene also filled in the missing pieces. Some of the missing people's jewelry was found here. The public and possible relatives of the victims were crucial to police identification. Despite the best efforts of the police, Harrison Graham was still nowhere to be found. The wanted suspect had 4 younger siblings and his mother, Lily, who lived in the Philadelphia area. The family appealed to Harrison to return home. He had been seen at local shelters and even on a city bus, but somehow continued to elude investigators. Investigators continued to search above, below, and around the building. Some bones were recovered from the land surrounding the apartment. However, a coroner's examination determined that they were not human remains, but animal remains. Another body was found on August 15th. The search spread to neighboring buildings, and in the basement of a complex down the street from Graham's house, under what appeared to be a burn pile, another person was found, similarly wrapped in a blanket and tied with an electric...
Starting to think these people couldn't pay Graham, and he's either they can't pay Graham or they're overdosing. Because what year is this? 87? When did crack come out? And where are they at? They're in Philly, right? Yeah. Yeah. I don't know about this.
Electrical cord. An examination revealed that only the torso and skull remained. This led investigators to question whether there was an 8th victim or...
Never mind. I think he's killing them. But get that. Only the torso and skull remained. Oh, no. Never mind. Never mind. They're not overdosing. He's killing them. Oh, my God. Oh, man. What was that movie? Because I'm over here reading... Okay, I'm just going to go ahead because I'm not sure. Because we're 7 minutes in, they still haven't talked about it. They say he later confessed and blamed his actions on a split personality, with one persona committing the murders and the other being unaware. Was that name of that movie called Split or something like that? I forget the actor. I want to say it was the guy that played Robin in the Dark Knight series. I think that might be him. I might be confusing the people. I'm bad with actors' names. But it was the one where they, and I think they made a second series, which I did not watch, but it was Mr. Glass, I think, based off of it or something to that effect. But the guy was just basically 2 people. He kidnapped these girls, held them in the basement, and then I basically did not let them out. And everybody's looking for him. I can't remember if one escapes or not. I don't think so, but I definitely know he kept the one until they go down there. But, and it was like, he had a regular job, if I remember right. But then he would go down to the basement, pander to the girls, take care of them. But I'm not sure why. Because I remember he beat or hit the dad with a baseball bat or hit him with something, then took the girls. And then all of a sudden, man, I can't remember the name of the movie. I think it is called Split. But then I just remember at the end of the movie, he had like superpowers where he's like crawling on the wall. So, but he was supposed to have a split personality as well. So I wonder, when people say that, do you just trick yourself into thinking that? You're like, I know I'm doing bad things, but that's not me. That's somebody else. Like, and then eventually does your mind just accept that? Like, what truly happens in those cases?
or connection to the leg bones found earlier. So far, there have been 7 known murders. As the search for Harrison Graham intensified, the coroner tried to put names to the bodies. A woman named Mary Jeter Mathis a mother of 5, had been identified. As detectives tried to piece together the mystery, Lillian Graham received a phone call that could provide investigators with important answers. It was from her son, Harrison Graham. On August 17th, the phone rang at Lillian Graham's home in Philadelphia. He asked if his mother could see him and bring him something to eat. His mother was able to convince Harrison to come home, that whatever had happened, they could work it out. When Harrison told Graham that he was coming home, his mother immediately called the police. Before he could get home, he was caught on the street corner and taken to the police station for questioning. So who was Harrison Graham? What kind of life did he lead?
Well, we're waiting for you
Harrison
to tell us.
Graham was born in Philadelphia on September 9th, 1959.
Okay.
The oldest of 5 children. He showed signs of mental retardation early in his childhood and had performance and discipline problems in school. Graham was expelled from high school for por gradis and absenteeism. His mother later claimed that Harrison was diagnosed with a mental disorder in 1971 and spent 2 years in a mental hospital or nursing home, but this claim was not substantiated. In the early 1970s, Graham worked in many areas of the construction industry. In 1979, he left his family's home and moved to North Philadelphia. He found a home in a neighborhood rife with poverty and crime. During this time, he began using alcohol and drugs. Harrison, a tall and athletic man, was not considered violent toward others and was never charged with a crime. In 1983, Harrison rented an apartment in a housing development of mostly vacant lots. Some residents, including Graham, used part of the parking lot to buy and sell illegal substances. Over the next 4 years, Graham turned his apartment into a hotbed where friends and acquaintances frequented to buy and use substances, mostly Ritalin and related substances.
Okay, so let me make sure I'm hearing this right. So, but does Ritalin? I'm not sure. I thought Ritalin made you focus. Is there a thing being too focused? My ears getting a little hot. Is there a thing too focused? I'm not sure.
However, Graham was never known to be involved in violent behavior. By 1987, he regularly paid his rent and played basketball with young people. He lived on a disability check. He was described by friends and neighbors as a good man, but inside that good man was a monster. What kind of person he had become would be revealed during the interrogations. Although he initially denied his crimes during the detectives' interrogations, he eventually confessed to killing 7 people. At first, he reluctantly admitted to 1 murder, then he softened and told the whole truth. He said it was Marty who did the killing. One of his victims was his ex-girlfriend, Robin DeShazer. According to Harrison, he didn't like having sex with his girlfriend. He was happier when he wasn't with her. So he came up with a different solution. After strangling his girlfriend, he somehow felt more comfortable having sex with her. He was aware of the desires of Marty, whom he called his alter ego.
Oh, so he is crazy. Okay. Jeez.
But not of his own. Harrison Graham had lured all of his victims he knew or met on the street with drugs. Graham met someone for sex in a perfectly normal way. He said he would wake up in the morning to find a woman lying dead next to him. In fact, he was shocked by the sight. He admitted that he was so shaken by what he had done to his first victim, DeShazer, that he left her body in his apartment because he didn't know what to do next. He had not.
What about the other 5? That would be my question. What about the other 5?
Tried to hide the body until he had brought another woman to his apartment, and then he had taken the body out of his bedroom window onto the roof. During the interrogation, Graham wrote a 10-page confession. Although he was a confessed criminal, the issue of mental illness came up during his trial. A public defender, Joel Moldovsky, was appointed. On August 27, 1986, during the 6-hour trial, a detective described the gruesome appearance of the remains. Harrison Graham did not look at all comfortable when this was told. He said that Graham always kept his head drugged while living with so many bodies around him because the sight of birds eating the bodies around him made it worse. According to attorney Moldovsky, these and other characteristic bizarre behaviors were crucial in determining his client's criminal responsibility. In addition, Dr. Robert Stanton, a psychiatrist, had evaluated Graham and determined that he had an IQ set of 63, which was considered below the level of criminal responsibility. This, coupled with his substance abuse and addictions, resulted in a man who was not criminally responsible under the laws of the state of Philadelphia.
Really?
Harrison suffered from chemically induced auditory hallucinations, psychosis, blackouts, and chronic paranoia.
Okay.
In addition, a psychologist, Albert Levitt, testified that in addition to the defendant's chemical and physiological problems, Harrison was deficient in basic skills such as reading, writing, mathematics, and telling time.
I'm confused. If he's deficient in all these skills, how is he luring these women? I guess under the promise of drugs. Maybe that's the only way. Because I don't understand. Other than that, it doesn't make any sense how he's able to convince these people to meet him if it seems like he's deficient in all these basic skills that people have. Because how would he talk to anybody? If he's deficient in all these different skills? Because even people who might be mentally challenged, might be mentally challenged in one area, but not necessarily in all areas, though. And usually people that are mentally challenged in all areas, they really can't have a true conversation with you at all. So that's what, like, how is this dude able to do that? That's when like he may be lower on the spectrum, but it can't be that bad. Because it wouldn't make that much sense in my opinion.
Shockingly, despite the evidence to the contrary, Judge Edward McKell ruled that Graham was competent to stand trial. He based his decision on the prosecution's presentation of the confession. Contrary to the prosecution's position, Moldovsky argued insanity, specifically multiple personality disorder. In an interview with the Philadelphia Daily News, the attorney said that Harrison Graham often spoke with a second and third personality. Marty was a docile mechanic. He loved his mother, was heterosexual, and a religious zealot. Occasionally, Junior would show up. This personality was known as the boyish boy who neighbors remembered hugging the Cookie Monster stuffed animal. It was Frank.
So maybe that's where Cookie Monster came in. Because I truly wasn't, because I was like, okay, maybe the person named Cookie, but then everybody would have to be named Cookie, nicknamed Cookie. And that didn't make any sense to me. Okay, so he'd been known as Cookie Monster since a little kid. Okay.
Frank, who was responsible for heinous crimes, both murder and necrophilia. Unlike Marty, who hated the sinful nature of homosexuality, it was Frank who could not bear to be with a woman. He thought it was a sentence of eternal death. Frank, however, had the street smarts to crave drugs and harder homosexual relationships. This was something he had encountered in his own youth. During the trials, Harrison had been involved in a fight in prison and blamed it on Frank. The prosecutor recognized this as Harrison Graham's ability to fake it. Dr. Gerald Cook, a psychologist, testified that Graham had brain damage. Cook also said that Graham suffered from sexual sadism, which is not a mental illness that makes a person insane or removes guilt. So he appeared to be an ineffective witness on key issues. Mother Graham told the court that she did not believe her son was capable of such horrific crimes. She thought
mothers are going to defend their kids. We just know that. Okay? They're going to find the good no matter what the situation is. They'll find the good in their sons. But Harrison needed to be put away for a long time, or to be in a mental institution for the rest of his life. If he's going to be split to the point where he's basically taking off people's bodies, but he's still smart enough where he could still sell them drugs? Yeah.
her son was a very simple and non-violent person. Even if he had been under the influence of the alcohol or drugs he was accused of using, he would not have found the environment in which to plan such crimes or hide the bodies. As the trials continued, the prosecution decided to call a former girlfriend of Graham's, Paula, to the stand. Paula testified that Graham choked her during sex and that she passed out several times. She also said that she had confessed this to her first lover, DeShaza. Naturally, Paula was afraid to leave this man. That's why their relationship continued. According to her testimony, she was sexually assaulted, beaten, and tortured by Harrison Graham. On March 8th, Harrison Graham told the judge that he was not responsible for the murders and that somebody else did it. Harrison waived his right to a jury, leaving his fate in the hands of the judge. He was found guilty of first-degree murder and abuse of a corpse. The burly black man was almost indifferent as he listened to his sentence. He later told reporters,
Not gonna lie, I didn't know abuse of a corpse was a crime. Makes sense, but I don't think I've ever heard of it like that, so I never even thought about that.
that everything is going to be all right. He demanded that the Cookie Monster be returned to him, saying it was no longer needed as evidence. Moldovsky never had to fight for his client. In May, the judge sentenced defendant Harrison Graham to death on 6 counts, but he received a life sentence for 1 murder. And the judge initially said he would serve the life sentence. The only life sentence was for DeShazor's murder. DeShazor was the first murder, so there were no other murders to add aggravating factors. Harrison Graham was an inmate at Harrisburg Prison in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania until 1994. But then, after a routine review, the Supreme Court found his sentence to be unethical and illegal. The court ordered that Graham's life sentence be vacated and that he be sentenced to death. He was then scheduled...
Oh, okay. I thought we was going the other way. I was about to say, we're about to let this man out? Oh, okay. Well...
scheduled to die on December 7th, 1998. The judge was once again in the position of deciding whether Graham should live or die. He stayed the execution. The killer's case spent most of its time on appeal until 2002, when the U.S. Supreme Court banned the execution of all mentally retarded offenders.
Okay, yeah, because I was just about to... I was going to wait to let the video play out, but I was going to say, all right now, we just had some other killers who only had to do 10 years. And now I know Harrison killed more people. But we had other killers that only did 10 years. All right now. I was about to say, and not to compare killings, but I'm like, this is a little insane right here. All right, I'm like, what's going on? There's only one factor.
Harrison did not meet the original requirements of the ban. As a psychiatrist involved in his case noted, he was not mentally retarded, even though test results showed his IQ was below 70. However, according to the American Psychiatric Association's criteria, the onset of mental illness before the age of 18 required an exemption from execution. Harrison Graham was thus permanently spared the death penalty. Harrison is now in a medium security facility in Pennsylvania. His case manager describes him as moderate and non-violent. He is a licensed minister and continues to practice his religious beliefs. It is often said of drug addicts that their sanity returns after they get clean. This may be the case with Harrison Graham. The 65-year-old serial killer continues to serve his sentence and live a quiet life.
Which, in my opinion, he should. Yeah, there. Oh, let me stop it there. Yeah, Harrison seems a little, not a little. Harrison is insane, okay? And we can't be scared to say that. Harrison would be a guy, like I would say, known as the Cookie Monster, that I would not want to have to deal with ever in life. And I'm glad I don't. Yeah, I couldn't. But the thing is, again, all these serial killers attack women as their main person. They don't attack anybody else from what I'm seeing. It's like everybody else seems like they're off the hook. And I'm not sure why or how that is, but everybody else gets off the hook super easy. Yeah, it's like, okay, we'll get the women, forget everybody else. But, oh man, yeah, he's, I guess he had a little bit more with the split stuff, but all right. But this is a change of pace. Hopefully y'all liked it. Hopefully it's something different. Like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. But I'll see if y'all like this. If y'all do, I'll incorporate it. I'll incorporate more stuff besides just doing